Ella stood in the warm, inviting kitchen of her father's home, the scent of freshly baked cookies mingling with the crisp autumn air seeping through the slightly ajar window. At 49, she felt like she was at a crossroads, her life having taken an unexpected turn with her recent divorce. The house, filled with memories of her childhood, now offered a temporary refuge as she figured out her next steps. The wooden countertops were cluttered with ingredients for the evening's gathering, a small reunion of her father's college friends. Matthew, the thoughtful one with a quiet intensity. Julian, always the life of the party with his infectious laughter. And Sebastian, whose deep voice and piercing gaze could unsettle anyone. Ella had always been curious about these men, these figures from her father's past who had seemed so larger than life. Tonight, she was to meet them again, not as the child who would peek from behind her mother's skirts, but as a woman navigating her own path. She glanced at the clock, its ticking a gentle reminder of the time slipping by. Her father, busy setting up the living room, called out to her, his voice echoing with a mix of excitement and nostalgia. "Ella, could you bring out the wine? They'll be here soon?" And she nodded, grabbing a bottle of red from the rack, her fingers brushing against the cool glass. As she moved through the house, the anticipation of the evening hummed in her veins. The thought of meeting these men, now older but still carrying the aura of their youth, made her heart beat a little faster. Ella paused at the threshold to the living room, the soft glow of the lamps casting a warm light over the familiar furniture. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, knowing that tonight might just be the beginning of something new, something unexpected. The doorbell rang, slicing through the quiet, and Ella's pulse quickened. She set the wine down, her dress swishing softly as she approached the door, ready to greet the evening's guests, and perhaps, unknowingly, a new chapter in her life. The door swung open, and there they stood. Matthew, with his salt and pepper hair neatly combed back, his eyes holding a depth that seemed to understand more than he let on. Julian, his laughter already echoing through the hallway, his presence filling the room with an instant sense of celebration. And Sebastian, his posture upright, his gaze steady, a man who seemed to carry the weight of the world with an effortless grace. Ella's father greeted them with open arms, the years melting away as they exchanged hearty handshakes and backslaps. She watched from the sidelines, her heart fluttering with a mix of nerves and curiosity. "Ella, come meet everyone," her father beckoned, his voice booming with pride. She stepped forward, her dress catching the light, the fabric whispering against her skin. Matthew was the first to approach, his hand extended, his touch gentle as he took hers. "You've grown into such a beautiful woman, Ella," he said, his voice soft, his eyes kind. "Thank you, Matthew," she replied, feeling the warmth of his hand linger, even after he let go. Next was Julian, his grin wide and mischievous. He pulled her into a quick, friendly hug. "Your dad's been bragging about you for years. It's nice to finally see the woman behind the legend." Ella laughed, the sound mingling with the clinking of glasses as her father began to pour the wine. "I hope I live up to the hype," she teased back. And then Sebastian, his presence like a quiet storm, his handshake firm yet not overbearing. "It's been too long, Ella. You look well," he said, his voice deep, resonating within her. "Thank you, Sebastian. It's good to see you all again," she managed, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. The evening unfolded with stories of old times, laughter filling the air like music. Ella moved through the room, helping her father with the food, her eyes occasionally meeting those of her dad's friends. Each look, each brush of a hand as she passed dishes, felt charged with an undercurrent of something unspoken. As the night deepened, the wine flowed freely, and the conversation ebbed and flowed with the ease of old friends reunited. Ella found herself drawn to Matthew, his quiet demeanor a contrast to the jovial atmosphere. They stood in the kitchen, her hands busy with the dishes, his gaze on her, thoughtful. "You seem different," he observed, his voice low, meant only for her ears. Ella paused, a smile playing on her lips. "Life has a way of changing us, doesn't it?" He nodded, his eyes never leaving hers, and in that moment She felt seen, truly seen, in a way she hadn't in a long time. The evening was a dance of sorts, each interaction with Matthew, Julian, and Sebastian adding layers to the night's narrative. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, Ella knew this was just the beginning. The air was thick with anticipation, and she couldn't help but wonder where the night would lead. As the evening waned, Ella found herself in the kitchen, alone with Matthew. The clatter of dishes and the murmur of conversation from the living room provided a backdrop to their quiet moment. She was wiping down the counter when Matthew approached, his presence like a gentle shadow. "Here, let me help," he said, reaching for a cloth. His hand brushed against hers, sending a ripple of warmth up her arm. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the world outside the kitchen ceased to exist. A wine bottle on the counter, forgotten in the hustle of the evening, tipped over from Ella's inadvertent nudge. The deep red liquid spilled across the white marble, a crimson stain spreading like a blush on fair skin. "Oh!" Ella gasped, her fingers fumbling to catch the bottle, but Matthew was quicker. He steadied it, his other hand already reaching for a cloth to mop up the spill. "It's all right," he reassured, his voice calm, his movements deliberate. As he cleaned, their hands touched again, this time with purpose, as he handed her the cloth. Their laughter mingled, soft and easy, as they worked together to erase the evidence of the spill. In that moment, Ella felt a connection, a spark that seemed to light up the room. "You have such a lovely smile, Ella," Matthew complimented, his gaze lingering on her face, making her cheeks warm. "Thank you, Matthew," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, her heart racing with the unexpected attraction. The kitchen door swung open, breaking the spell. Julian entered, his laughter preceding him, his eyes bright with the joy of the evening. "What's this? A secret cleanup crew?" he teased, his gaze shifting between Ella and Matthew. Ella straightened, her hand still holding the cloth, a smile playing on her lips. "Just an accident," she said, her voice light, trying to mask the flutter in her chest. Julian moved closer, his arm brushing against Ella's as he reached for a glass. "Well, accidents can lead to the best moments," he said, his tone playful, yet with an undercurrent of something more. The air was charged, the tension palpable, as Sebastian joined them, his presence adding another layer to the dynamic. He leaned against the counter, his eyes taking in the scene. "Seems like I'm missing out on the fun," he remarked, his voice deep, his gaze intense. Ella felt like she was at the center of a storm, the calm before the chaos. Each man, in his own way, drew her in, their interactions a dance of words and looks, a silent promise of something more. As the night drew on, the wine continued to flow, and the conversation turned to stories of the past, of adventures shared and secrets kept. Ella listened, her mind drifting to the possibilities of the night, her heart open to whatever might unfold. The living room had transformed into a dance floor, the furniture pushed back to create space. Music filled the air, a mix of old classics and contemporary beats, setting the stage for an evening of movement and connection. Ella watched as her father took his wife's hand, leading her into a slow waltz, their laughter and love evident in every step. Matthew approached, his hand outstretched, his eyes inviting. "May I have this dance?" he asked, his voice gentle, his touch warm. Ella placed her hand in his, feeling the electricity of their earlier encounter still lingering. They moved to the center of the room, the music enveloping them. His hand on her waist was firm yet tender, guiding her through the steps of a slow dance. Each turn, each sway brought them closer, their bodies in sync, their breaths mingling. His eyes held hers, and in that moment she felt as if time had slowed, the world outside their dance fading away. "You dance beautifully," he whispered, his breath tickling her ear. "Thank you," Ella replied, her voice soft, her heart pounding with the intimacy of the moment. As the song ended, Julian was there, his hand already reaching for hers. "My turn," he said, his grin infectious, his energy infectious. He pulled her into a lively dance, his movements playful and full of life. They twirled and spun, laughter bubbling up between them. "You're a breath of fresh air, Ella," Julian said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. The dance was a whirlwind of energy, and when the song changed, Sebastian stepped in, his presence commanding. He took her hand, leading her into a dance that was both intense and passionate. His gaze never wavered, his steps purposeful and strong. "You have an allure, Ella," Sebastian murmured, his voice deep, resonating within her. With each dance, Ella felt the layers of her life peeling away, revealing something raw and real. The music, the movement, the connection. It was all intoxicating. Each man brought something different to the dance, to the night, and she found herself drawn to each in their unique way. As the evening progressed, the dances became more intimate, the space between them lessening with each song. Matthew's touch was like a gentle caress, Julian's laughter a balm to her soul, and Sebastian's intensity a fire that ignited something deep within her. The room spun, the lights a blur, the music a heartbeat. Ella felt alive, her senses heightened, her emotions a tapestry of joy, curiosity, and desire. The night was a dance of possibilities, each step, each turn, a new chapter in her story. And as the music played on, she knew that whatever happened next, this night would be etched in her memory forever. The dance floor had become a stage for a different kind of performance, one where words were replaced by actions and emotions spoke louder than any conversation. The music had slowed, the lights dimmed, creating an intimate atmosphere where shadows danced with the figures of the night. Ella stood at the edge of the room, her breath catching as Matthew approached, his steps deliberate, his eyes locked on hers. The world seemed to narrow to just the two of them. He reached out, his hand gently cupping her cheek, his touch sending a shiver down her spine. "Ella," he whispered, his voice a caress, "I've been wanting to do this all night." Before she could respond, his lips met hers in a kiss that was both tender and deep. It was a kiss that spoke of longing, of missed opportunities, and of a connection that had been simmering beneath the surface. His lips moved against hers with a gentle urgency, a promise of something more. Time seemed to pause, the music a distant hum, as Ella melted into the kiss, her arms wrapping around Matthew, pulling him closer. The kiss was a revelation, a moment of pure, unadulterated connection. As they parted, their breaths heavy, Julian was there, his eyes twinkling with mischief and something deeper. He took her hand, spinning her into his embrace. His kiss was different, filled with laughter and a playful passion that made her heart race. It was a kiss that spoke of joy, of living in the moment, and of the unexpected beauty of life's surprises. Ella's mind was a whirlwind, her senses overwhelmed by the intensity of the night. And then, Sebastian was before her, his presence like a storm about to break. He pulled her into a kiss that was all-consuming, his lips demanding, his touch possessive yet tender. It was a kiss that spoke of desire, of a fire that could not be easily quenched. Each kiss was a world unto itself, a universe of emotions and possibilities. Ella felt as if she was standing at the crossroads of her life, each man offering a different path, a different kind of love. The room was a blur of movement and music, but in those moments, everything was clear. She was alive, her heart open, her soul bared. The kisses were more than physical. They were a testament to the night's magic, to the unexpected turns life could take. As the evening drew to a close, Ella stood in the middle of the room, her lips still tingling from the kisses, her mind racing with thoughts of what could be. The night had changed her, had opened doors she hadn't known existed, and as she looked around at Matthew, Julian, and Sebastian, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready to explore, to feel, to live. The first light of dawn filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the room where Ella lay, her mind still reeling from the night before. She stretched, feeling the warmth of the sun on her skin, a stark contrast to the cool sheets. Her thoughts were a chaotic dance of memories, of laughter, of kisses, and of the three men who had made the night unforgettable. She sat up, her gaze wandering to the window, watching the world awaken. The house was quiet, the remnants of the party scattered around, a testament to the joy and intimacy that had filled the space. Ella's heart felt full, yet there was a tinge of uncertainty. What did the morning bring? What did the kisses mean? She pondered over Matthew's gentle touch, Julian's infectious laughter, and Sebastian's intense passion. Each had left an indelible mark on her, a promise of something more. As she made her way downstairs, the aroma of coffee greeted her, a comforting reminder of normalcy. In the kitchen, she found Matthew, his back to her as he poured coffee into mugs. He turned, his smile warm, his eyes searching hers. "Good morning," he said, his voice a soothing balm. "Coffee?" Ella nodded, accepting the mug, their fingers brushing in a familiar, yet now charged way. "Thank you," she replied, her voice soft, unsure of how to navigate the new terrain between them. Julian entered, his hair tousled, his grin as wide as ever. "Morning, sunshine," he greeted, his energy undimmed by the early hour. He grabbed a mug, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Best party ever, right?" Ella laughed, the sound light, easing the tension. "Definitely," she agreed, feeling a sense of camaraderie with Julian, his presence always a reminder to live in the moment. Sebastian was the last to join, his entrance marked by a quiet intensity. He leaned against the counter, his gaze steady on Ella. "Morning," he said, his voice a deep rumble, his eyes conveying a depth of emotion. The kitchen was filled with a comfortable silence, the kind that spoke of shared experiences and unspoken understandings. Ella sipped her coffee, her mind racing with questions, with possibilities. Matthew broke the silence. "Last night, it was something, wasn't it?" His words were gentle, an invitation to talk, to share. Ella nodded, her eyes meeting each of theirs in turn. "It was," she agreed, her voice holding a note of wonder. I'm not sure what it means, though." Julian chuckled, his hand reaching to squeeze her shoulder. "Sometimes, Ella, it's about the journey, not the destination." Sebastian's gaze was intense, his words measured. "And sometimes, the journey is just beginning." They stood there, the morning light growing stronger, each man representing a different facet of life, of love. Ella felt a sense of freedom, of choice, of the unknown. The night had opened doors, and now in the quiet of the morning, she was faced with the decision of which path to take, or perhaps to forge her own. As they talked, laughed, and shared coffee, Ella realized that the morning after was not an end, but a beginning of exploration, of understanding of what love could be. And with each sip of coffee, with each shared glance, she knew that whatever came next, she was ready to embrace it, to live it fully.